So here today, the goal is to educate real estate investors, mortgage brokers, and really anybody interested in real estate on how to value residential properties. So we've got today our senior valuator, Robin McKay, who will be doing the presentation. Our goal at Calvert is to support all of our stakeholders by offering an effortless experience for their financial success. Specifically as it relates to our real estate investors and mortgage brokers, we offer a unique product to residential flippers where we allow people to buy with low down. We offer very fast speed and turnaround. One of the main reasons we're able to offer that is we're unique in that we do our own valuations. So here today, we are giving you our secret sauce as it relates to valuations. This presentation will be recorded. We will be providing those who want a copy of the recording. We will also be providing, for those who want, a copy of our valuation analyzer. And we would love for you to check out our website. There's a number of great tools for real estate investors, mortgage brokers on our website, such as our flip analyzer, various case studies, and a lot of other great tools for the benefit of providing some knowledge to you. We will be taking questions throughout this presentation. We have our army of underwriters on standby to answer questions. We will take some of the more detailed or best questions for the end and answer those to the whole audience. There will also be some polls that we pass on through the presentation, so please engage. Without any further ado, I will pass it off to Robin to introduce herself and start this presentation. Thanks all.
Thanks, Jesse. So my name is Robin McKay. I am a candidate appraiser with the Appraisal Institute of Canada. I'm working on my last course towards my CRA designation. I've been working with Calvert Home Mortgage now for 2 years, and before that I was a fee appraiser. So today we're going to be covering a lot of information. I'm going to run through this fairly quickly so that we have time for questions at the end. But like Jesse said, we are recording this presentation so we can send a copy to everyone who has attended. So don't worry too much about taking notes. So why is it important to value your property? You want to make sure you're getting a good buy and you're making a profit. We want to focus on market value and not just the highest possible price the property will sell for, because the market is imperfect. You're more likely to lose money the longer you have the house on the market after completion waiting for the perfect buyer. So what is market value? It's the most probable price which a property should bring in a competitive and open market as of the specified date under all conditions requisite to a fair sale. The buyer and seller each acting prudently and knowledgeably and assuming the price is not affected by undue stimulus. Undue stimulus is where either the seller or the buyer really wants to sell the property or purchase the property. So for sellers, they would need to make a quick sale. There might be in foreclosure. They may have purchased a second house already and need to sell their old one for financing, or maybe the house is in probate. We don't want to use these types of houses as comparables because the seller is most likely to provide a discount to move the property. They are, however, great houses to buy if you plan on flipping. If a home sells significantly higher than the neighborhood, it may show undue stimulus as a buyer. So the buyer might not be knowledgeable about the market. They might be purchasing from out of town, sight unseen. The house may have special value to the buyer. The seller may have included extra items in the sale, such as furniture, or the home may have been purchased at a higher value in order to launder money. You want to be careful. One sale does not necessarily make a market. Appraisers look at 3 approaches to value. They look at the direct comparison approach, the cost approach, and in some cases, the income approach. We're only going to focus on the direct comparison approach as it best reflects buyers and sellers in the market for single-family homes. The direct comparison approach is based on the premise of the principle of substitution, which implies that a rational investor or purchaser will pay no more for a particular property than the cost of acquiring another similar property with the same utility. It's most useful when a number of similar properties have recently been sold or are currently for sale in the subject properties market. Using this approach, the appraiser produces a value by comparing the subject property with similar sold properties called comparable sales. The sale price of properties are judged most comparable tend to indicate a range in which the subject property will fall. And you also want to check active listings when completed to ensure the market hasn't changed. When choosing comparables, you want to select houses that are most similar to yours after renovation, as those are the houses that appeal to the type of buyer who will buy your house when it's completed. Elements of comparison include real property rights conveyed, financing terms, conditions of sale, expenditures made immediately after purchase, market conditions, location, physical characteristics, economic characteristics, use, zoning, land use controls, non-realty components of value. We're not going to touch on financing terms, expenditures, and non-realty components as they do not come up very often, but you should still be aware of them if they do. The first element of comparison is property rights. The value of a property changes based on the ownership rights of land. It's important that your comparables share similar property rights. Types of property rights that you'll commonly see include fee simple interest, leasehold interest, and condo strata. You don't want to compare a condoized townhouse to one that's fee simple. They have different property rights and therefore different values. Just like you need to be careful that you're not comparing fee simple to a leasehold interest. So for example, I've shown on MLS listing where the property rights are indicated. You can also check the title through SPIN in Alberta or Purview in Ontario. Oh, right there. When picking comparables, you want to ask yourself, have they sold in the last 3 months? Have the market conditions changed? Are they in the same or similar neighborhood? Do they have similar street influences? Are the lot sizes similar? Is zoning similar? Are they similar dwelling types, such as like a 2-story, or are you looking at a bi-level? Are they similar in size? You want to make sure that you're picking comparables that are within 15% of the subject property size. And are they similar in aging condition? When picking comparables, you want to ensure that they sold during similar market conditions to today, so when you're purchasing the property. To do this, you can check inventory. We calculate inventory as the number of active listings in a market, which could be in a neighborhood or a combination of neighborhoods, divided by the number of sold listings between 2 dates. When inventory is between 4 to 6 months, it's considered a balanced market. When inventory is below 3 months, it's considered to be a seller's market and the prices tend to increase. And when inventory is above 6 months, it's considered a buyer's market and prices tend to decrease. This is a simplified explanation of why prices go up and down. Financing conditions, local economy can also play a part, as we've seen in Ontario. Many banks allow appraisers to only use comparables from the last 3 months. They can adjust for market conditions past 3 months, but it's fairly complicated. As a rule of thumb, try to choose comparables that have sold in the last 3 months. If the market is changing drastically, try to choose comps that have sold in the last month or 2. In parts of Ontario and even in Alberta, the market is no longer increasing like it did at the beginning of the year, and in some cases has started to drop. So don't pick comparables from April and May. Choose ones that have sold in September, October, and now in November. When picking comparables, you want to make sure that they're from the same neighborhood or similar neighborhood with similar amenities. You want to be aware of streets that may have more value over other streets, and you want to be aware of price ceilings if they exist. Each parcel of land is unique in its location and composition. Land is physically immobile, land is durable, and the supply of land is finite. Remember that the value of land appreciates over time while the house itself depreciates. So a lot of the value of real estate is in the land, and a lot of the land's value is determined by the social and economic conditions surrounding it. If you have to pull from a different neighborhood, you want to pick comparables from neighborhoods that share similar features. As an example, lake communities often come with a premium price tag. We did a pair sale analysis in the community of Lake Bonavista and Calgary last year, which showed a $60K premium over the neighboring community of Bonavista Downs, which doesn't have a lake. So if your subject's within Lake Buena Vista, you wouldn't want to select comparables from outside the community and vice versa. Some lot values can even go up street by street. So be careful that if you're renovating in a higher end neighborhood that you're aware of which streets have more value. You also want to be aware if the neighborhood has a price ceiling. For the longest time in Dover, a community in Southeast Calgary, the maximum a house would sell for was $360, no matter how nicely renovated the house was. Dover residents have a lower income than the majority of Calgary, and many of the homes are rented, and the crime rate, although improving, is still fairly high for the city. You don't want to waste money on upgrades if the potential buyer is willing to live in the neighborhood won't see the value in them. You want to pick at least one comparable that shares a similar street influence to your subject. So here's a list of features that influence the street's value. Backing onto a green belt, backing onto a park or fronting a park, being located within a cul-de-sac, even cul-de-sacs with small green spaces in front tend to sell for a fair bit more. Having views such as mountains, water, lakes, ponds, or a downtown view. If they exist on a traffic collector, busy street, backs onto multifamily or small strip mall. Most of these are positive influences, but you also need to be careful of negative influences, such as the busy streets and backing onto commercial or industrial areas. If you have a comparable on a busy street with a traffic light, you want to choose a comparable in the same neighborhood that also fronts the same street or another street that also has a traffic light. This will help to ensure you're adjusting the right amount so that influence as the adjustment can change from neighborhood to neighborhood. In addition, we've noticed that the market requires a 10% reduction in value for homes located near gas stations, cell phone towers, and high voltage power lines in flat or increasing markets. These houses become very difficult to sell in dropping markets. If in doubt, so if you're unsure if your subject property has like a very negative influence nearby, don't buy it. You want to pick comparables that share similar zoning and lot size, specifically frontage. Why is zoning important? Zoning is the most common regulatory urban planning method used by local governments to control density and redevelopment. It's super important that you know the zoning of your subject, as the frontage of your property may indicate higher development potential. The difference of a half meter might cause your property to be worth $50K less. It might also indicate that you'd be better off redeveloping the lot instead of renovating what is there. Zoning may also indicate if you can legalize a secondary suite or place a garden suite in the backyard. A home with a higher zoning and therefore development potential may be worth more than your subject property, even though the two look identical otherwise. So how can you find out the zoning for your lot? Zoning can be found on your local municipal website. Some municipal websites also have interactive zoning maps that allow you to easily look up the zoning. So here's an example. This is an RC2 zoning for Calgary. All I've done is copy and pasted the bylaw. Some things to note: minimum width for a single family home is 7.5 meters, and the minimum width for a duplex is 13 meters. A lot that's 15 meters can be subdivided and developed with 2 single detached dwellings, while a lot that's between 13 to 14.9 meters could be developed with a duplex dwelling. And a lot that is 7.5 meters to 12 meters will have similar values that can only be redeveloped with a single detached home. You need to know your zoning. If frontage affects development potential, make sure that your subject and comparables have similar frontage. When picking comparables, you want to make sure that they have similar floor plans to your subject. The reason we don't compare bi-levels, bungalows, split levels to 2-story homes is that the basement of a 2-story home is half the size. So the overall livable floor area is smaller, even though we only compare the above grade livable area in our analysis. In some areas, 4-level splits also sell for less than bungalows or bi-levels because they have more stairs. In other areas, they're more appealing if they have the high vaulted ceilings on the main level. You want to know your market. And so in this case, you can compare your bi-levels, your bungalows, and your split levels together when you're looking for comps, just because they tend to have the same square footage above and below. And then if you're converting basement suites, they're going to have like similar utility versus a two-story home. When picking comparables, you want to make sure there's similar age and condition to your subject. So, right here. Sorry, it's a little bit fuzzy. I've included this chart just because adjusting for age and condition can be complicated. This chart can give a good idea of how your renovation can reduce the effective age of a home. I also don't want you to purchase a 100-year-old house, replace everything, and think it's a brand new house. It's not. The foundation and framing is still old, so it's actually closer to being a 20-year-old house. You want to make sure that you're choosing comparables that are similar age to your subject and that they also have a similar renovation to your home. This will give you a better idea of the price your house will sell for. So once you've picked the very best comps available that share similar property rights, conditions of sale, marketing conditions, location, physical characteristics, economic characteristics, and zoning, we use a simple Excel sheet to help calculate the qualitative and quantitative adjustments. Areas in yellow are qualitative, while the white sections are quantitative.
Oh, Robin,
yes.
Can I just stop you for 1 second? I'm just going to jump in to summarize what we've just learned. So essentially, when picking a comp, or we're picking comps for your property in order to do an analysis, you want similar location, ideally same neighborhood. You want similar time of sales, ideally within 3 months. Never use properties that are listed for sale, because those properties are not a comp in that they haven't sold. They may give you information if the market is going down, if there are properties listed less than what you think they are, but typically the properties are listed more than what you think they are. Always try to pick similar house type. If it's a bungalow, choose a bungalow. Always pick similar zoning. If it's a R1 zoning, choose R1 zoning. Same as lot size. The closer to your lot size, the better, and age and finishing. If you're having difficulty finding comparables, this is especially important for real estate investors who are buy, renovating, and selling, or buy, renovating, and refinancing. That's an issue. That should tell you that you're looking to do a unique property. And unique properties are really tough because you're not going to be able to evaluate them with great certainty on conclusions, thus creating risks for yourself. So whenever possible, you should be looking for properties that have really good data around it, where you can formalize a really good opinion of value. I see Robin is frozen, which worries me. And we haven't moved to the next slide. Maybe I'll ask the other guys in Robin's office to turn off their videos, just because that may be sucking your bandwidth. Without further ado, I will leave it to Robin.
Okay, am I still frozen?
You're frozen your video, Robin, but what most people are interested in, which is the presentation, is working.
The presentation, okay, that's all that matters. So what are qualitative and quantitative adjustments? Quantitative adjustments are adjustments based on a quantity. So number of bathrooms, livable floor area, basement development, or how many parking spots you might have. Qualitative adjustments are more subjective. They include location upgrades such as granite countertops and yard development. Here's a list of quantitative adjustments that we use. These are automatically calculated in our spreadsheet, but of course, value changes can be made if warranted by the market, such as you've got a giant ensuite bathroom with a standalone tub, a huge shower. That would probably be more than $7,000. You might want to tack on another 10K on top of that. Half bathrooms, which we call powder rooms, are usually $3,000. Basement developments are between 10 to 20K. An additional 10K for an unfinished basement to a finished basement in older homes. This is based on like a 1,000 square foot house. The larger the house, the larger the adjustment. Newer homes, for example, would be about $300 per square meter for a basement development. Legal suites, we add about 25K from a finished basement in Alberta and 50K in Ontario. With the legal suites, about 15K from a finished basement, and then in Alberta, in Alberta and 30K in Ontario, and walkout features at about 10K. I would like to mention a word of caution. Basement suites do not add value in all communities. So you want to make sure that one of your comparables also has a suited basement to ensure that there's value added. We find in neighborhoods where they're very family orientated and there isn't a lot of rentals, that a basement suite can actually detract from value. So putting this all together, let's pretend that we've purchased 380 Alcott Crescent and we're devising a renovation plan and we want to know what our end value is. We're going to look into the community and find other similar sized properties that are renovated to make our analysis. 621 Agate Crescent Southeast sold for one of the highest prices in the community at the time and happens to be very similar to our subject in zoning, lot size, livable floor area, and it also appears to be a good comparable. Our subject house is located on the left. It's located on a quiet street. Comp One is also on a quiet street, fronts a park, and is also on the other side of Fairmont Drive, which may or may not affect value. As a parent, I might not want my child crossing a busy road when they walk to school, so I might be willing to pay more for this comparable versus our subject. We'll keep this in mind when we look at other comparables. This is what the interior of 380 Alcott looks like. It's in original condition. It does have some good things going for it. The landscaping is nice. It has a bit of a vaulted ceiling with a wood beam, which buyers tend to pay more money for, and it's a decent size. The siding also appears to have been updated at some point. And this is our Comp One 621 Agate Crescent. So the siding's been updated. It has an island kitchen, newer flooring, vaulted ceilings, hot lights, and upgraded bathrooms. The difference in price between the two is $259,900. This renovation gives us a good idea of what buyers expect for a renovated home in the neighborhood. So we're going to create our sample renovation plan. We're going to open up the floor plan. We're going to update flooring, base, case, interior doors. We're going to update all the bathrooms. We're going to update the kitchen with an island. And we're going to upgrade electrical and plumbing with some new hot lights. And then we're going to renovate the basement with 2 bedrooms, a living area, and a wet bar. We're estimating this is going to be about $80,000. 359 Ashley Crescent would be your Comp 2. It's a similar lot size. It is slightly smaller than our subject. Also has updated siding. It's located a little bit north of our subject, slightly closer to a park in the high school nearby. But they're both on the same side of Fairmont Drive, and they're both on quiet streets. And then when we look at the interior, it's fully renovated, has an open concept kitchen with an island, hot lights, wet bar, and the exterior is updated. This renovation reaffirms what buyers are looking for in this neighborhood. (324) 96th Avenue Southeast. This one, here we go. So this listing says it has an illegal suite, but when I check the pictures, and we'll look at them in a minute, it doesn't have a basement kitchen, only a wet bar, so I wouldn't count that as an illegal suite. The siding is also updated. These are similar aged homes, similar zoning, and the lot sizes are very similar. And this one's only slightly larger than our subject. Their locations are also very similar. And when we look at the interior, it's also been updated with an open concept kitchen, hot lights, wet bar, and the exterior is updated. The flooring, though, appears to be refinished instead of replaced, and they've used some linoleum, which you can see in like one of the bathrooms. That shower also doesn't look nice. So then we're going to pop all of our comparables into our spreadsheet. And then we're going to make our adjustments. So we've got our subject, 380 Alcott Crescent, and then our comparable one. So 621 Agate Crescent Southeast. This is one of the higher selling homes within the neighborhood. It's located across from the park. So I've adjusted 20K, but we do need to keep in mind that it's located on the other side of Fairmont Drive, so that adjustment might need to be a little bit higher. The land size is slightly larger than our subject, so I've adjusted down by 2,000. Obviously, if you're in a community where land prices are well over like 350, you want to be increasing your land adjustment. They're both detached homes. It says bungalow, it's actually a 4-level split. Age condition, they're similar ages. Above grade area is almost the same. The room count, so they only have 2 beds above grade, whereas it's 3, and then they've got 3 full bathrooms. So we're adjusting down by about 4,000 for that full bathroom. They both have full finished basements, double detached garages. And I would say that Comp 1 is slightly superior to ours, just because it's got that larger island kitchen and it's got the full vaulted ceiling. Comp 2, 359 Ashley Crescent Southeast. So this was located on the quiet street that was a little bit more north of our subject. It is on a larger lot. It's a detached bungalow built in 1960. It's slightly smaller than our subject, so I've adjusted up by 4,000. It's got that 3rd full bathroom, so I'm adjusting down by 4,000. But other than that, it's fairly similar to what I think our end subject is going to look like. And then comparable 3. So also located on the quiet street, this is the one that was located the closest to our subject, has the same size lot. It's also a detached bungalow. It was slightly larger than our subject, so I've adjusted down almost $2,000. It doesn't have the ensuite, whereas it did have an ensuite. So that's being adjusted up by 3,000. And then I said that this one was slightly inferior to ours. I didn't like the flooring in this one. So I think buyers probably don't want to pay as much for this particular subject. So that gives us a range between 588, 236, and 643, 792. I would put more weight on comps 2 and 3 just because of the location, which then gives me an end value of 590. So the value indication, if we were to do a full renovation, similar to the comparables that we see here, would be 590 as complete. If we bought this house for 420, that leaves us 170,000 for the renovation, financing, realtor fees, profit.
Thanks so much, Robin. That was awesome. So here we're going to jump into an example of how we just valued this property, assuming the budget of $800 or $80,000, and getting it to be of similar finishing to the 3 comparables. So this is a hypothetical analysis, as if a real estate investor that was going to buy, renovate, and sell this house. Here's how we would look at it. This flip analyzer, I will note, is available to all of our borrowers and mortgage brokers. So if you don't have a copy, please feel free to reach out and get yourself a copy. We will also make it easy for you to get a copy after this presentation when we share an email inviting you to sign up for our content. So in this flip analyzer, here we show what the purchase costs were in B for this. Total purchase costs were approximately $2,220. Then when the client renovated and sold, we look at the selling costs. Obviously, the biggest selling costs are going to be your real estate agent fees. For those of you listening from Ontario, we calculated which would be the most typical agent fees in Calgary, which is $7,000 for the first $100,000 and then 3% thereafter. Then you look at operating costs. So this flipper in our hypothetical situation, it took them 2 minutes to do the renovations and 1 month to sell. So you have $495 times the 3 months equals $1,485. Then we show the renovation budget, the months to sell, totaling 3 months, the $80,000 renovations, the after repaired value that we just went through of $590. This client in this situation, we're assuming bought at $420. We allow our flippers in Alberta to buy with as little as $10,000 down. In Ontario, that number is $20,000, still a very low down payment. So therefore, we lent this client net mortgage proceeds of $410,000. For our minimum down product, we charge 15.5% annualized, which is 1.29% per month. So the interest cost on a monthly basis is $5,500. The financing fee for this was 2%. So the total interest costs were $16,000 and change, and the total financing costs for all 3 months were $24,700. Now, we will approve these clients predominantly based off of their success. So when we look at the next slide over, hold off 1 second, who's ever is managing the slides. When we look at this, we say how profitable is the client going to be? And if the client's going to be profitable and they have the money to execute the flip, which is here, $110,000, that $110,000 is based off of, again, your rental cost of $80,000, your carrying costs of the $27,000, plus your $10,000 down payment. If you show us that you have $110,000, that $110,000 can be through savings or debt, then we will lend you on this product with as little on this property with our flip product with as little as $10,000 down. So assuming the client executes as per the previous slide, they would net profit $37,493. That would be a 43% return on their $110,000 because it was only in 3 months. If you annualize that, that's 136% return on their cash. The ratio of cost to after repaired value is 22 point, we'll round up, call it 5%. And the monthly variable cost is $6,000. For our flip clients, we love to emphasize speed. The faster you are getting in and out of a project, the less risk. The less risk on the market turning on you. Also, you're bringing down your financing costs. So here we show if it took the client a month longer, it's basically costing them $6,000, which is your monthly variable costs. If they somehow finish a month shorter, they're earning another $6,000. So speed is very, very key for anybody who is looking to flip, being in and out quickly, executing your renovations, having all your ducks in order is going to enable you to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. So rules of thumb when picking comps is that there should be at least 3 comparables that bracket the property, 1 sale that adjusts downwards and 1 sale that adjusts upwards to arrive at your value conclusion. Values after adjustments should be closer in range than before the adjustments, and homes should conform to the neighborhood in both size and style. When they do not, they may be discounted. Other tips for making your renovation plan. Your goal is to reduce your effective age while adding value. You want to visit new homes, renovated homes, talk to potential buyers, realtors, and consult with a designer to understand the trends and know what buyers are willing to pay top dollar for. Open concept kitchens, full en-suites, built-in shelving, wet bars, fireplaces, front and back decks, all add value. New flooring, cabinetry, pot lights, baseboards, closets, doors, siding, those all reduce your effective age, but you want to be careful of materials and color. So obviously, you want everything that you're picking to appeal to the most number of buyers, not just specific people. And then you also want to replace items that have reached end of life, such as windows, roof, furnace, as these will detract value from your project. And then that takes us to the end.
To our conclusion. Thank you very much, Robin. A huge thank you to all who attended. It's amazing to see 115 of you here. I'm hoping we provided some really great education to you. One thing that I'll ask quickly here is our goal is to educate you, specifically educate our brokers and our real estate investors. So if you guys think of any other type of educational content we can provide, we would love for you to put it in the chat box. We take our role of education very serious, and we'd love to provide more of these webinars on topics that you feel would provide value to you. Another thing that I will say is, again, we will be sending out an email. It will be inviting you to sign up to our marketing distribution list. That marketing distribution will include things such as economic reports, case studies, invitations to events such as this. So we really recommend, if you found this valuable, to sign up for our marketing distribution list. We have a number of our underwriting team on here today. That includes Sherwin Garrett, Rob Maver, Ryan Day, myself, Bakul, as well as Alicia, who may get the pleasure of dealing with any of you brokers or real estate investors. I know we had some really amazing questions that I think I'd love to hit on. One that I'll start off with is the capital gains tax. We leave that out of the analyzer because capital gains, depending on your situation and how you're flipping these, may be taxed differently, whether you're doing these through a corporation and maybe you're retaining earnings, maybe you're doing it as an individual. Some clients actually live in these for a short period of time. So we like to leave that with you and your tax professional rather than trying to imagine the hypothetical situations in which you will be taxed on the capital gains of this. Alicia, maybe you can open up, relay a couple good questions to Robin from this, from the group.
Yeah, so the underwriters did a really good job of addressing the questions, but I'll mention a couple of them. So Grant and Korean had a question about the age of the property. Was that one answered? Or Robin, do you want to touch on that a little bit more and how that impacts the value?
The age of a property. So when we look at the effective age of a property, how do I put this? Houses depreciate over time, and they depreciate at different, like the interior of the home is going to depreciate at different rates. Your roof may last 25 years, your windows may last 20 years, your hot water tank may only last 5 years. So it's really difficult to adjust the effective age when you're looking at a fully renovated property, and then you're looking at one that, you know, may have been renovated 20 years ago, and then one that's been renovated 40 years ago. So you want to be picking comparables that have been renovated around the same time, so that you don't have to try and adjust for the different items that may be depreciated. Does that answer the question?
Okay, and there was another question about pools and adding value. So if we want to touch on that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So pools don't add a lot of value in Alberta, but we're finding that they add between 30 to 60K in Ontario. If it's a below grade pool, so it's built into the backyard and it's got really beautiful landscaping, that's going to be more on the higher end. We find that above grade pools, because they can be taken down and moved with the seller, those don't add as much value, if it any value at all. There could be some value added though, just because of the size of your lot, that you can build that pool there.
Perfect.
We got a really great question from Tom that I'll pass off to one of our underwriters. He's interested in the ease of approval of a corp versus an individual. I'll also mention that we do love to pre-approve our clients ahead of time. That pre-approval process is quite easy. I'm going to pass that off to one of my teammates to answer.
Yeah, I can take that. I was starting to type a response, but we might as well do it here. So comps versus personal. I answered in the chat that we would require a personal guarantee if you're in a corporation, And the difference really, it's just as quick. We would just require incorporation documents, and depending on how long the corporation's been open for, we would look for financial statements and income documents regarding the corporation.
So essentially, it's one extra step beyond the person in that we look at the corporation, look at what their financials are, and have the individual shareholders guarantee. So it's one extra step and not a big step. We see a lot of our flippers flipping through corporations. Good question from Nathan as it relates to speed. We did have big supply chain issues earlier in the year that was slowing down speed. Also, the fact that, especially in Ontario, where it's such a heated market, the availability of trades is tough. So that's something you really need to consider and manage. I'm not sure where appliances stand right now. For most of these flips, our flippers are using generic appliances, so they're not using high end, they're using readily available items, most of which I'm still seeing my flippers be able to procure.
I'll add to that, Jesse. One of my top flippers up in Edmonton actually did something really smart and bought a whole bunch of appliances, different appliances, because he's doing multi-doors, right? So he kind of stockpiled and got lucky and got ahead of the game. Something to consider if that's a concern to you.
Another question was about if there's no comps close by, how far from the subject will you go? Robin, do you want to touch on that?
Oh, you're muted, Robin.
Yeah, I see. It depends on the similarities in neighborhoods nearby. So we could definitely go, 5K and try and keep within 1K, but you could go up to 5K. You need to be looking at the communities nearby to ensure that they are as similar as possible to yours. In places like Edmonton, they'll have 4 or 5 communities together. You can go 5K out and they're all going to be very similar. In parts of Calgary, and I'm sure in parts of Ontario, different places like Toronto, you need to be a lot more careful on where you're selecting your comparables for. So look at your, look for like major streets, try and stay within boundaries of rivers, major streets. Maybe there's community like where the schools are pulling from to help determine where you can pull your comps from.
Someone else asked if there's a larger number but of smaller bedrooms add value. So I'm assuming more smaller bedrooms versus, I'm not sure.
The way that I read that is let's say you have a main floor bungalow of 1,200 square feet. Does the fact that it has 3 versus 4 bedrooms add value, Robin?
Most cases, no. Like a 3 versus 4 bedroom would be no. You're only going to have select people that are looking for a 4 bedroom. They're probably going to be just as happy to have bedrooms in the basement. When you get below 2 bedrooms, then it is going to become a lot harder to sell that house because people don't want all their kids in the basement. And then it depends on like the square footage too. So the larger the square footage of that house, then they're probably going to expect more bedrooms on the upstairs. But it's kind of like a give and take because en suites are also something that buyers are looking for. So if you have to give up 1 bedroom in order to have a master ensuite, you're probably going to get more value for that than if you didn't have that master ensuite and you kept the 3rd bedroom.
Perfect. Robin, I'm just going to add to that, and maybe you can read Grant and Kareen's explanation and hit that up after I expand on that. So we most appraisers focus on square footage when adjusting. So the square footage floor plate is really what you're adjusting, not the bedroom count. And like Robin said, if you have a family neighborhood where most families have 2 children, and you're a bungalow with 2 bedrooms, that may affect value because most buyers are going to want a 3-bedroom. So we just try to use common sense when we're looking through those type of adjustments. But for the most part, bedrooms boil down to square footage adjustments, which we value on aggregate for the whole floor plate.
And it would also, just to jump in, because I know we do flips in apartment buildings too, if you only want to be comparing like a 1-bedroom to a 1-bedroom apartment, making that adjustment from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom is super difficult. It's probably better to go back in time and do an adjustment for market than it would be to try and adjust for the bedroom.
Another good question was, what's the rationale for not accepting comps with pending sold status?
It's a little different in Ontario. In Alberta, when it's a pending sold status, that sale can fall through. We've definitely seen lots of contracts that come across our desks that say that they've got a pending sale and it falls through due to financing. So in those cases, there's just a lot of risk associated with maybe they've overpaid and then the appraisal comes back and it's not approved. So that's why we want to use closed sales.
Someone else asked about if we fund Quebec projects, and we only lend in Ontario and Alberta. Someone else asked, how's volume at Calvert now versus last year in Alberta? One of the underwriters want to touch on that?
So in Alberta right now, we're seeing a significant increase in volume, especially on the flip side. We're just seeing an all-round better economic environment, which in turn has increased the real estate environment. So we're seeing about a 50% increase this year in Alberta versus last year. Prav also asks, what are the drawbacks of getting a property appraised at a higher value more than the original ARV? I'm not clear on that question. Robin, do you have any input on that one?
So the question's asking a drawback from it getting appraised at a higher value than what we valued it at. I don't think that there's any negative to it. We tend to be slightly more conservative than some of the appraisers out there. So if you get an appraisal that's much higher than what we would appraise it at, oftentimes it's, we may disagree with the comps that the appraiser used or some of the adjustments that the appraiser used. Does that answer the question? But it's probably to your benefit to have a higher appraisal when you look to refinancing.
Hey, Robin, there was one question answered that we missed. It was missed. It says, will possibility to create a granny suite tiny home 3rd-unit increase value typically on a larger lot? By how much, proportional or fixed value based?
So like a garden suite is in like an exterior building. Those tend to add between, like from our paired sales analysis that we've done in Calgary, anywhere between like 90 to 120,000 is what they add to the property. It is partly done by square footage is what we're looking at, like the cost to build. Not quite sure what they would be in Ontario. I'd have to do a paired sales analysis out there.
We got a really great question from Nathan. I'll open it up to maybe Ryan or Alicia. What are some recent style finishing trends that offer the best bang for the reno dollar? The reason I open it to Ryan and Alicia is they are active, aspiring real estate investors. So they have a really good feel for that.
Can you unmute it?
Yeah, it's unmuted.
Oh, okay. I think we've been seeing a lot of the gray LVP. Also, subway tiles have been sticking around for a while. I'm seeing kind of a shift towards more of it's called grayish. I'm sure some of you have heard of that. It's a little bit more of kind of a tan color in terms of paint colors. So those are kind of the trends right now. White cabinets are really big. Some people are doing white cabinets with the dark lowers, such as like navy blue or gray. Anything that you've seen that I have missed?
No, yeah, that you pretty
Yeah.
much touched on everything. And yeah, stainless steel appliances.
Yeah, that's a given. Yeah.
I see a lot of value added in built-ins as well. So doing mudrooms with built-in closet area for all your kids stuff, doing built-in entertainment units, your fireplaces, those tend to add a lot of value. I think a lot more than what they cost to put in.
I've neglected to mention, we have a very active Instagram page where again, our goal is to educate and bring together our flippers and brokers. So please follow us at Calvert Home Mortgage if you're not already.
I just want to, there's one more question here, the age of property clarification. Robin, did you see that in the chat? It's a very interesting question.
Sure, and maybe read it out for Robin.
Okay, so it says, it's a clarification from a question earlier. He was asking about using comps that are the same age versus comps that are the same build, same renovations. And he says that his appraiser stated built in 1938. So look for comparables built around the same time. Find not of same type estates, but included bungalow less than 1,500 square feet as compared to 6,000 square feet. However, features of home quite different, not estate, large home. Seemed like crazy way to evaluate comparables, not based on comparable like features, not apples to oranges, or maybe bad appraiser? Question.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe the appraiser just was really struggling to find comparables in the area. I would not agree with going from 15,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet. That's a huge adjustment. There's going to be a lot of unknowns in regards to like how much you should be adjusting for that, especially with like the estate versus not estate. I would suggest it would be better to just choose an estate home and then try and adjust for age and condition. So you're looking at 1938. So that house is probably going to be 20 years old. Even if you took a new house that was a similar size in a similar community and then adjust down by 20 years to get to what your property would then be if it was fully renovated.
Sorry, go ahead, Robin.
No, it's like you want to know what the effective age of your home is, and then you want to compare what the effective age of the other home is, and then you want to adjust. I find it's usually like a 8 or 9% for every 10 years would be the adjustment. But you have to subtract the land value so that you're just adjusting the house. So you're kind of looking at like the square footage of a house. How much would the square footage of a house be to build? And then that would be like your brand new home, and then you would want to adjust down for the aging condition. It's super complicated. The little chart that I showed kind of gives you an idea of how to do it. But yeah, in that case, like almost ask for a different appraiser, because you want to be picking things that are similar sizes and then adjust for age and condition versus finding the same age, but you're having a huge variable in the size. Does that answer it better?
Thanks. We have another question about our ability to finance garden suites in Alberta, specifically Calgary and Edmonton. We mostly refer to them as laneway houses. We do finance them, although it's not our focus, because it's really, that type of financing is really true construction financing. So it doesn't quite fit into our flip model. We'll do them on a one-off basis. It's definitely not our forte, although we have seen success in doing them. Sherwin specifically has seen a few clients, I think, where they've added really good value, really good rental income, and they were able to leverage our capital and then exit, whether it be through sale or through refinance on that. Sherwin, do you want to add to Laneway Suites at all?
Yeah, I mean, what you said is exactly right. They are more on the construction side of things because you're usually adding them, not just renovating them. But again, yes, there's a lot of success in that. I've seen more success in certain communities, so more success in Edmonton versus Calgary. But otherwise, you know, there are good opportunities out there to add another door for if that's going to be what you're doing, refinancing at the end.
Robin Williams asking about rough numbers that we use for adjustments. I think we went through some within the slide, the slide deck. Why don't you touch on that? And by the way, William, that will be shared. The slide deck will be shared at the end of this.
It's a great question. So when I started appraising, it was $1,000 per square meter, and that was just kind of like the understood value that we used. But I found that my values tend to be more accurate when I use $600 per square meter. But you're only you're subject to comparables that are within 15% of the same size. When they tend to get larger than that, then the adjustment doesn't work as well. That's also for older homes, because the majority of our floods tend to be in houses that are like 1960s to 1980s. For newer houses, like if it's a brand new house and you're comparing a brand new house to another brand new house, it might be $1,200 per square meter. And then that value can go up as well, depending on the finishings. Are they like 10-foot ceilings in each of the houses that you're comparing? Then you want to be using a slightly higher value than that too.
Conrad, you mind just going on mute? Perfect. Oh, or
We might have to punt Conrad. Nathan asks a question on corner lots.
Robin, are you able to mute him?
Conrad's wrestling a bear.
It won't let me mute him.
It's okay. I think we got it figured out.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay, what was the question in regards to corner lots? Corner lots, good or bad? Bigger lot land.
Yeah, do they add value?
Depends. So in communities where there's a lot of redevelopment happening, so in Calgary, we have these RC2 lots or RCG lots. A corner lot's going to allow you to, one, request to get higher zoning, and then you can put in like a fourplex. So in that case, a corner lot does add a lot of value. In residential communities, kind of as you mentioned, you know, you're going to have a smaller backyard, but a bigger front yard, then it doesn't add as much value. And so then you would want to adjust down or like pretend that the house has a smaller yard than it does when you're comparing it to other comparables within the neighborhood, because you're right, having a small backyard means that you're not going to have as many buyers interested in that home.
There was another one, Robin. What about home theater? Does that add value?
About $2,000, give or take. So not a lot.
So for a dollar spent, you're not really adding value.
No.
We always want to see when our real estate investors are looking at their rental plans, we want to see them for every dollar they spend, they should be adding at least $1.20, if not much more, or else it's just kind of, it slows down your reno, and also it's making unique features that the general market may not want. Keep in mind, when you're flipping houses or burring houses, you're doing this for the general public, not yourself. So take out what you would want when you're considering your renovations, and think of what the general market wants. A really great idea is look at your comps, look at what has sold, understand what works and what doesn't, and try to be as homogeneous as possible. Keeping it simple is always the best rule of thumb there.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're in an estate community and everybody has a home theater, then you might want to add your home theater. But yeah, for the majority of flips that we see, a home theater is not going to add any money.
Guys, I haven't seen any ideas for us for our upcoming webinars. I'd love for somebody to text something that they want to learn about as it relates to real estate and real estate investing. We're very curious. Awesome. Well, it seems like the questions are dying down. Again, we have a team of experts that are available. Would love to help you with your questions. If you have upcoming deals that you're looking to close, whether it be flip, BRRRR, otherwise, we'd love to hear from you. You will be getting an email that will go out to everybody that includes this webinar. It will include our valuation template. We can send our flip analyzer to you. Whatever you're craving that we can offer, we want to get to you. We would love to pre-approve those of you who are thinking of doing deals and thinking of doing flips and haven't done business with us yet. For those of you who has, you can attest to our service and how we've supported you with your flips. Sean asks how we work with mortgage agents and brokers. What we do with mortgage agents and brokers is we educate them on how we serve their clients, and then they send us deals. So we have a number of clients that come to us direct, but 70% of our clients come through us through brokers. So we very much appreciate and cherish the broker relationship. Again, our goal there is to provide an effortless experience for the success of them and their clients through unique products like this flip program, through the speed that we offer, through the customer service that we offer. So mortgage brokers, what we do is we go out to major markets throughout Alberta and Ontario, educating brokers who do work in those markets on the type of financing that we offer. And then they, in turn, when they see an opportunity, send those clients to us.